Hello, welcome back to the Learning Linux CNC channel. I'm Jim, and today we're going to start the whole process of putting Linux CNC on a machine. We're going to do it the easy way. We're going to download the software ISO off of the Linux CNC website. We're going to burn that to a flash drive and then install Linux CNC from the flash drive onto our computer. So we're going to get started here, and I'll show you how to do it step by step. Okay, so we're going to start this process by going to the LinuxCNC website. So I'm going to open a web browser, and I'm going to go up to my address bar, www.linuxcnc.org. That brings you to the main home page, and from here, to get the software, you can go to the download tab or link, and it brings you to the getting started page that tells you all the steps of getting Linux C installed the easy way. We're going to follow this procedure because I'm installing it fresh on a brand new machine that has nothing else on it, and it's just the easiest way for me to do it. If you're going to install it, if you want to install Linux CNC on top of an existing operating system, that procedure differs from this one, so you'll have to look at some other options there. But this is the easiest way. It's going to install the Debian Wheezy operating system, and it's going to install Linux CNC with that special installation of the Debian Wheezy operating system that has real-time kernels and everything installed already. So the main thing that you need to know is that you need to have a distribution of Linux that is compatible with Linux CNC, and that means that it has to have a real-time kernel of some sort, whether that be RTAI or whether that be a RT preempt kernel. So there's some documentation out there on installing the other ways, but for right now I'm just going to go through and do it the easy way. So you can go through this whole web page and read it first. That'd be my recommendation. And as it says, there's also these alternate install methods, so you can look at those. Once you've got it installed the first time, you can go through the updating Linux CNC section that's talked about here. But what we're going to do is we're going to download it fresh. Then we're going to do a install based on that fresh download. So what you do is you'd click on this link here, and you're going to save the file to your disk. Click OK. I'm going to cancel because I've already done this just to save me some time in this recording session. And then that will save the ISO file to your computer. Now there's a couple other methods here, or one other method here that you can use Z-Sync to do the download. It's just a special download manager. You can use that if you want, or you don't have to. And in Windows, you can do the same thing. You can just download it as a regular download in Windows also. That's actually how I downloaded this one. I downloaded it to my Windows machine. So the next step is going to be to verify that the file you downloaded is correct and there's no errors in the download. So to do that, we're going to do an MD5 sum checksum to make sure that the file is the same as what it was originally. So once you run the MD5 sum on the file, then it'll spit out a number, and that number, or that alphanumeric string, should match this string here for the MD5 sum that's here. So let's do that. We'll open a terminal window, and we're going to navigate to the downloads. Capital letters are important in Linux CNC, or in Linux. So I'm in my downloads folder, and in here you can see that I have the Linux CNC 2.7 Wheezy ISO file in there. So we're going to do an MD5 sum on that, and we're going to check that out. So MD5 Wheezy ISO. And then we're going to hit enter. and it's going to churn and whirl for a little bit and do all of its checks on that file to come up with the MD5 sum, and then here in a minute we'll compare them. So our MD5 sum is this right here. So let's see if we compare 978 CA 074 C 5119 4E 72F 93E 8C 8D 711 CFA or 7110 CFA. So we match, so we know that our download that we have is good. All of the data that's there is appropriate and matches the original exactly. So now what we have to do is make a bootable device. So what we're going to use is I've already plugged in my USB stick into the computer. So we're going to then look for that USB stick. So we've connected a USB stick. We're going to determine the correct or what the device name is. So we're going to use the dmessage command. So again, we're going to go back to terminal, and we're going to go dmesg. And it's going to spit out a whole bunch of data there. But really, what you're looking for is the information about your USB disk. So it comes down here and it talks about it, and you've got your USB disk here. So we come on down, and it's been attached as SDB. And that may differ on your machine. It's completely it's not arbitrary, but it just differs from machine to machine what that would be. So in our case, we're going to use SDB. So then we're going to do a DD command to write the image to the storage device. So we're going to go to our downloads file directory, capital D, and we're going to do a DD with this command right here. Except for we're going to use SDB at the end here. So we're going to go DD if equals of equals SDB for mine. And that's going to format and install the ISO to make it a bootable install. So we're going to hit enter, and I probably should have done sudo. We'll see. And I'm doing all of this in Linux right now, but you could do the same things in Windows. You would just have to use different tools to do it. You could have to find an MD5 sum checker to do your checking in Windows, because the Windows doesn't have one that's built in. Then you'd also have to find a appropriate image writer for burning to a flash drive in Windows. I have noticed that I've got a new PC with Windows 10 on it, and I have noticed that it has a built-in image recorder to a disk, to a optical disk, but I have not tried it on a flash drive. So I may try that sometime in the future just to let you know whether or not it works. But I do know that the image burner does work burning to a CD. I've made a bootable CD of this already, or DVD, excuse me. This is too big for a CD, but if I have not tried it to a flash disk yet. So this is going to take a little bit, it looks like, so I'll be back whenever it completes. So it looks like we just finished, and we copied out 1.2 gigabytes to the disk, and we should have a bootable flash drive now. So we'll test that out on our new computer that we're going to install this on. So once you get your flash drive made, then you can do the test by plugging it in and doing a live boot. And we'll do that first just to show you about that. And then from there, we'll go ahead and do a full install. And there's other information here about installing with different methods and stuff, getting the kernels that you need and things like that. So feel free to read all that if you want to try something different. But we're going to go ahead and continue with the install based on our current process here. Like I said, the easy way. Okay, so now we have our new computer over here that has nothing installed on it, and we're going to first boot into the live image and just boot it up without installing anything, make sure everything's working, and then we can do a latency test if we want in the live mode, and then we can reboot and install from there. So let's get started. First off, I'm sorry for the glare on the screen there, but that's as good as we're going to get. So we're going to go ahead and start. I'm going to power the machine up. Better turn the monitor on. So we've got several different options here, and the first option is the one we're going to use this time. So it's the live boot, and it's using the RTAI kernel, and that's what comes pre-installed with the download. So let's boot into the live mode. I'm just going to hit enter. Now, the live mode, runs very similar to the way it would run once you do the install, but it puts no data on your hard drive, and nothing that you do in the live mode is saved for later. Once you power the computer down and reboot again, then all that you did in live mode is gone. So if you're going to actually make changes and set your machine up, you want to do the install. The live mode is a good diagnostic that you can run for testing a computer to see if it's going to be good and compatible with LinuxCNC. So if you have a computer that's around and you want to test it, plug the flash drive in, boot it in the live mode. It can have an operating system installed already, and it won't change a thing on that machine. You can just boot it up and test it and see how it works. So here we are. We booted into the live mode. We've got a mouse working, our keyboard's working. I don't have a network connection hooked up right now, so it's giving me an error there. But everything's here. We've got our menu bar here, and we've got our CNC menu. From there, you can go in and do a latency test. It's the LinuxCNC latency test. We can pull that up. And you can let this run and see how your particular computer does as far as latency goes. It's not a good idea to do it right as soon as you boot up like this, but you can do it, and let it run for a little bit, and then reset the statistics so that you get a fresh starting point, and then it'll kind of stabilize after a period of time. So in my case, you can see that I've got a 25 millisecond basically and 22 millisecond jitter, and that's usable. It's not terrible. It's not the best that anybody's ever recorded, but it's definitely usable, and we're going to prove that here as we install it on the router. So this particular motherboard, it was shown in my computer building video, so you can go back and look at that to see the specifics on the motherboard. But it's a J1900 processor, so they've proved to be pretty consistent with decent latency numbers for most installations. So anyway, that's the main thing that you would do. You could also, play with LinuxCNC. You can't run LinuxCNC and the latency test at the same time. But you can go in and do a LinuxCNC, go to the config picker, and do a sim axis. Let's just do this one. We'll open it up. Yeah. Okay. Those don't really make any difference because it's in live mode. So you've got LinuxCNC here that you can play with and see some of the features that go along with it. So again, you can do all of this in live mode without ever installing anything on your machine. So in the sim here, I could take it out. I could home all of them. And I can jog around if I want to. So I can use my keyboard to jog around. Blah, blah, blah. So you can do all that stuff without ever installing anything on your machine. So we're going to close LinuxCNC out now. We're going to reboot our machine. And this time we are going to do the install process. So this time we've already done the live run. This time we're going to go to install graphical. You can do the other install text if you wanted to, but you might as well use the graphical. I see nothing that's deficient in the graphical install. It's just more user friendly. So the first thing you're going to do is select your language, your location, the type of keyboard. And it does its thing to find your installation medium. It says CD-ROM, but it's actually, in this case, booting from the flash drive because there is no CD-ROM in this machine. Trying to configure the network, and I don't have it connected to the network, so hopefully this won't cause it to crash out, but I don't think it will. So we're just going to click the continue. And do not configure the network at this time. So we're going to give this computer a name, basically. So I'm going to call this one router lathe, because I intend to use this on both my router and my lathe. Nope, I can't do that. So let's try that again. So, router lathe. How about that? Continue. So you need to make a user and a password. So I'm just going to call it me. And my username is that. And the password. We're going to make something simple for now. And I'm in Central Time Zone. So now we get into partitioning the disks. So it's looking at what disks you have installed. And we're gonna, what I'm gonna do is, you could do either one. You could do the guided, or you could do manual. Manual's pretty easy. We'll go through that. So we've got 2 disks in this machine right now. and we have a primary partition on the same disk, but we're going to work with this one here. So we're going to go into here, and we're going to click this, continue. So that made a primary partition on here. That's the full drive, basically. So I'm going to go into that partition now. We're going to create a new partition, and the new partition I'm going to make to be 4 gigabytes for swap space. So 4.0, and it's a primary, we'll call it. And it can be the end, it doesn't really matter whether that one is. And we're going to use as swap area for that one. And we're going to continue. Continue. And we're done setting up this partition. Continue. So now we've got a swap area and we've got our primary here. So we're going to go into here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and split that partition again, and I'm going to set it up so that I have an area for my user files and an area for the operating system, basically. So let's go into here, create a new partition, and we're going to say that it is, let's say, 10 gigabytes. This will be for the operating system files, basically, which that's a huge amount for that, but it'll work. I'll say it at the beginning. So this is going to be an ext4, and the mount point is going to be the root mount. So you can see that. There's our blocks, all that's good. Continue. We're done setting up the partition. Continue. And then we've got our 46 gigabytes of free space. We're going to go into that, create a new partition. We're going to use the whole 46 gigabytes. We'll just call it primary also. And that's going to be my home. It automatically detected that. You can go in here and look at other options that you have. So you've got the root file system, they already have that one assigned to the other one. We've got home for our user home directories. So that's where we're using this one for. And there's other options that you can put in here. We're going to use that. So continue. What that does is you can install a different operating system over your current operating system while maintaining your user files, basically. So that's why I'm doing that. And we're done setting up the partition. And we're going to say finish. Do we want to write in the disk? Yes. And then continue. If other people have other options, other ways they'd like to set up their hard drive, feel free to put it in the comments. I mean, this is not the only way. You could just make 2 partitions, one for swap and one for your whole file system, including the operating system and all your user files. You could also make just one whole thing and not have a swap area. If you've got enough RAM and you're never going to need swap, then that's one option too. But really, you You don't need a whole lot of swap for what we're doing with LinuxCNC, but if you're going to use it for other things, you might need some swap area. This particular machine has 4 gigs of RAM in it, so it can load a 4 gig file on the memory or thereabouts. Not quite that big, I guess. Once the operating system's loaded, the operating systems are pretty minimal in Linux. So it goes on through the installation procedure. If I recall, it doesn't ask you many more questions. It's just installing the information onto the hard drive. We'll go ahead and watch it. I may speed this up into high speed and get us through it. So it's finished installation and it's giving you a prompt here that you're done. So it's time to boot into the new system, remove your CD-ROM, floppy, whatever you used to install from. We used a flash drive, not floppies. And we will take that out, and then we're going to hit the continue button and boot into the new system. There's the flash drive. Continue. It's removing all the stuff that had to put in there to do the install. So now this is the normal grub boot menu, and it's going to go ahead and boot into the first option unless you start narrowing down whenever the boot menu comes up. So this is the normal boot in the RTAI kernel, and come up with Linux here in just a second. So we've got our login screen. Please note that when you're logging into Debian, the first login screen is your username. So Jim. And then you hit enter, and then you enter your password. So we'll log in. That's something that tricks a lot of people the first time. So we're going to just use the default config here, and it's going to populate our screen with the default icons. So now we have a full operating system. So we've got Debian installed, we've got LinuxCNC installed. We can go in here and again run the latency test. So it looks like our numbers are a lot lower here with the installed image versus the live image. Oh, there we go. Now we're back up to where we were. So, like I said, when you run your latency test, you want to run it for a couple hours and run some GLX gear. We'll do that in another episode. Actually, I showed you that video. So you can go back to that one and take a look at that and see how to run your GLX gears so that you can test the graphics along with the rest of the system. So there we have it. We have a full installation, an operating installation of LinuxCNC on Debian Wheezy, and from here you can start setting up your machine. So we're going to conclude for today. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back the next time when we start hooking up to our machine and getting the configuration done. See you then.